Okay, so here we are in Hackney Market. So tell me, bro, what's today all about? What's the flyers and what's everybody doing today?
So we're having a stall. We're just doing some outreach on Ridley Road. We're the Hackney branch of London Renters Union, which is a union for tenants, for renters in London, for people to come together to face their housing issues together.
I want to get the market in the background. Yeah.
To face their housing issue, I keep going.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, market renters. And so, what is the main problems? Is it that renters have today?
Well, at the moment with coronavirus, and with a lot of people.
You want to drop the mask down a bit because that's gonna muffle up some of the sound. Then we can see how pretty you are. You know. All right. Yeah. So as you're saying.
At the moment with coronavirus, there's a lot of people who are in rent debt, and there's a lot of people who are worried about being evicted. There's been an eviction ban for the last few months, but a lot of people are worried about being evicted after August 31st, after the end of August, and so we're worried that there will be an eviction crisis because landlords, there's been a ban on evictions for the last few months, and suddenly there won't be, and a lot of landlords will be evicting their tenants a lot. And so we're also facing a lot of illegal evictions at the moment, even though evictions are banned for the time being, and just a lot of people who are in high amounts of rent arrears because they haven't been able to work because of coronavirus. And a lot of things like people not being able to get their deposits back, and people who are in houses that are not safe, where there's mold and there's damp and the landlord won't fix it. London Renters Union is a place where people can come and talk about their housing issues with each other. They can collectively combat those housing issues mutually. So essentially it's like mutual aid. We call it member solidarity, where members will be in solidarity with each other, and if somebody's facing eviction, another member who might have faced eviction in the past will support that member. And we do eviction resistance, we do trainings about renters' rights, and we basically it's like community mutual support for renters in Hackney, and also we have branches in Lewisham and Newham as well.
No, it's serious. It's very serious. I heard about it, and I'm glad to know you brothers. Is there a communication connection, website, Facebook?
We have a website. I mean, we also have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well.
All right, tell us how.
So it's all if London Renters Union, you can find. So there's London Renters Union .org. There you go. London Renters Union.
You guys got a Twitter feed and stuff?
We've got Twitter. And it's all the same logo and everything. So London Renters Union. You'll find our Twitter. You'll find our Instagram. You'll find our Facebook. Yeah.
All right. And on a more personal note, the market. I heard the market was. They were trying to.
So actually, the Hackney branch of London Renters Union is in solidarity with the Save Ridley Road campaign, which I'm also
Tell us about what they had planned for Ridley Road. This lovely market behind you.
Yeah. So down there's the little indoor market, and that's under threat currently. There's a developer who wants to develop that building where the little indoor market is down. Just a little ways down Ridley Road, the shopping village it's called, and there's a developer who wants to turn that into luxury flats and some hipster office space and some little shops that don't cater to the local community. And we know that if that happened, that would be something that would increase a lot of other gentrification of the market in general. There's also way more restrictions on traders at the moment from the council, so they're just being a lot of that stuff has tightened up and they're finding it a lot harder to trade. There's a lot of problems where a lot of the issues in the market are not being addressed by the council, and there's also so you can't promise £1 million to the market, but there's not really been a very clear people would like a clearer consultation about where that money is going to be spent and how it's going to be spent on the traders. A lot of people on the market are just worried about the market being socially cleansed or gentrified and being turned to a place maybe more similar to Broadway Market, where it used to be a market that catered more to the working class community and had affordable foods and affordable products and stuff, where now it's more artisan and it has more hipster products and things, and people are worried about that on Ridley Road. Yeah.
All right, now for people watching in America and New York and stuff, a little bit of history about this market. what's so special about this market?
It's one of the oldest markets in London. It's
And
been there for like
in relation to the black community here who
Huge.
disappearing slowly.
huge. I mean,
No, tell us a little bit. So
so because of the high rents in Hackney that are raising a lot of the black community and the like black working class community are being displaced from Hackney, and this market is a really important place for people who are here. It's an important cultural space because it has specific like food and like the fan that I've got over here. This like this I bought from Ridley Road, and this is something that this is something that is imported. You know what I mean? That's specifically from West Africa. There's foods and vegetables and things like that that are imported from like parts of the world that the migrant communities that are in Hackney are from, and so it's like a space where people can engage in their culture, but also as well as that, it's somewhere where people can get affordable foods and like products, and there's a lot of other places where people can't get that, and they, including the big shops and things like that. It's also just like been like a core like crossroads for like the West African community, for the Afro-Caribbean community, for South Asian community, for like Turkish and Middle Eastern, Eastern European, and so like white working class people who've been in like this country for ages who are also getting pushed out of the borough as well. And so this market, it retains like a history and a culture that if it wasn't here, then frankly I wouldn't really be able to call Dalston anymore. You'd have to change the name, because Ridley Road is a core part of Hackney and of London. It's probably one of the most important markets. It's been here I think for about 180 years. This market's been here. There's some trading families who traded here when their ancestors were traded ancestors. Yeah, when their like great grandparents were trading here with like cart and horse and stuff. And it's an extremely important place, particularly for the West African and Afro-Caribbean like black community.
all right, let me ask you one more question. I'm going to spin you around because I'm going to get that big tower in the background, and what that is about is gentrification. What's your views on what is happening with this gentrification thing?
I mean, I feel like there's luxury apartments and flats that are being built that are not affordable for the local community, and that's pushing us out, specifically like pushing out like black working class community in Hackney, which is like a huge part of Hackney. Places like that building are not affordable for most of the people who come to this market, and it means that we can't live here anymore, and it means that like our space is slowly being taken away, it's what people would call social cleansing, where basically based on your like social class you're being cleansed out of the community, forced out because of high rents, and because developers want to make a huge amount of money from developing building luxury apartments like that big monolith behind me. It's also ugly as well.
All right, and what do you see? What do you see happening? Is it inevitable what's going to happen, or?
No, I don't think it's inevitable if people don't stop it. But there's a lot of people who are here to protect like social housing and protect and to try to campaign that there should be a rent cap in London and things like that. I think people have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for, and I don't think it's unstoppable. We've seen before with the developer who wants to develop. A great example is the developer who wanted to evict people from the Ridley Road shopping village. All it took was the community to come out and say no, and that was stopped. You know what I mean? And now we're objecting to that planning application over and over again. And like, it doesn't take too much from the community to come together to stop.
Wait a minute. Did you say?
Yeah.
So they're actively seeking. It's ongoing. They're
ongoing.
putting pressure to get it. So there's a fight going on.
There's a fight going. There's a struggle.
So once you ease off, they're gonna run steamroll over.
Yeah. So we have to not ease off, basically. And we have the power. I mean, we're the ones who give them all the power in the first. Like, workers give bosses power, tenants give landlords power. Like, we give them the money to that.
But also
rich in the first place. So if we take that away from them collectively, then we realise we've got a lot more power than we.
Also the town hall as well. Those officials in there, are they elected officials or they just elect themselves? They're meant to be accountable to. They're meant to be accountable to the people, aren't they?
I think it's a mix. Yeah, I don't know how accountable the council are. As a structure, I mean, there might be nice individuals within the council, but as a structure, it's not particularly accountable to the.
What about local MPs? Who's meant to be the local MP around here?
Stein Abbott, and then there's I forget who the local MP is for Hackney South.
Okay.
But,
Are they active in the situation on the ground, or are they just?
Not particularly. Not particularly. That would be wonderful if Dan Abbott, for example, was active in coming out on set and giving a lot of support for Ridley Rhodes. Particularly as I think the black community has given her a lot of support over the years, for being one of the only black women MPs for so long. First, yeah.
All right. Final message from you to the people out there, to the current situation.
We have a lot more power than we realise. We have all the power. It's in our communities. All we have to do is come together. And there's no point in facing things alone. If you're facing eviction, if you're facing rent debt, if you're having problems with your landlord, don't face it alone. There's lots of people in the community who can support each other. Yeah.